The new generation of the A-Class is intended to mark a change of generations for Mercedes, in more ways than one. The car maker is targeting a younger clientele for this new addition to the family. The new A-Class also comes with new dimensions: 41 centimeters longer, 1.5 wider, and 16 centimeters lower. Those new vital statistics give the model a sportier, more dynamic look than its predecessor, and the suspension translates that dynamism onto the road. This, together with the parameter-assisted speed-sensitive power steering, makes this car a swift but safe mover at all speeds. We tested the A250 with 155 kilowatts of power. Official fuel consumption is 6.2 liters. Top speed is 240 kilometers an hour. And it makes the dash from 0 to 100 in 6.6 seconds. Our car reviewer Mark is also totally surprised. If someone had told him 10 years ago that he'd be driving an A-Class this fast around the cones, he wouldn't have believed them. It looks very dynamic and is very dynamic. 41 centimeters longer and 16 centimeters lower. These extreme changes mean radical changes on the design front. The new addition has daring contours all over, and the result is a very sporty character. As for the rear, horizontal edges and lines provide a chunky, athletic look, underscored by the mean-looking single-section lights. The design was very open from the start, explains product manager Nathanael Cianta. The designers and R&D people were given a blank sheet of paper and worked with an eye to how market segments are developing worldwide. The interior is lush, almost nicer than the C-Class above it. Mercedes went a tad over the top with the design, however. The fake carbon elements and beefier air ducts for a tougher look don't really cut it, but the sat-nav does have internet access. The hatch can pack in 341 to 1,157 liters. Not bad, but no match for the cargo capacity of the old generation. This is more a fun-mobile than people carrier, but if you're not out on family vacations, then you should have ample space. Mark is taken aback by how much he likes this A-Class, but as for Mercedes' plans to replace its old clientele with a completely new generation, he's not so sure whether it will succeed. The big question, is Mercedes genuinely cool? This car might represent a kind of revolution for Mercedes, but we've seen a similar thing before with the BMW 1 Series, for example, or the Audi A3. Then there's the price. The young target clientele will have to shell out an extra 3,000 euros for the new A-Class entry model, 24 grand instead of 21. The revamped compact goes on sale in Germany in September. Some 65 years after the appearance of the first VW Beetle Type 11, VW launched the Up. The two small cars don't appear to have that much in common, but 65 years of research on engines, ride comfort, and safety have fortunately made their mark. The Beetle and Up are both entry-level cars, says former German touring car champ Hans-Joachim Stuck, but he's amazed at everything the Up has to offer. The exclamation mark is justified by the technical features, he says, the brakes, the ABS, plus the suspension control systems. There's also a sat-nav, unlike in the early days. The old Beetle, of course, did not have nifty features like power windows. It didn't even have any safety belts. Aram, our young tester, is fascinated, precisely because there are no driver assists. It's a weird feeling to reach over your shoulder and not find a seatbelt. Then you don't have the 5 or 6 gears you're used to today. There's no brake assist. You really have to tread down deep. It's certainly a really different feel. The old model was known as the Pretzel due to its split rear windshield. Our car reviewer team reflects the generation gap. Rainer Unruh remembers the old Beetle, but it's a new experience for his son Aram. So, after a spin in the Beetle, he says it's like having to learn how to drive all over again. He cites the gears, just 4, and the lack of power steering. His dad jokes knowingly about its handling around bends. Cars have a smell, says Rainer. When he thinks of how cars smell, he has to think of his childhood back in maybe 1969, when he was out in the car with his aunt. He misses that smell, the feeling of driving around and of people waving and saying, "Wow, nice that they've kept that baby going." That's the big difference for him, the feeling. On the driving front, of course, he'd prefer to have all the safety features that the Up and other cars in this category have.
Natürlich vom Fahren her will ich lieber ein Auto fahren, was diese Sicherheitspunkte alle hat, die der Up hat zum Beispiel, oder Autos seiner Kategorie.
There was one Beetle that could undo the new Up, albeit thanks to Hollywood special effects. Herbie, the Love Bug. The cute little car appeared in a range of movies and TV series, sporting the legendary number 53. The modern Up has no such resume yet, but who knows, perhaps 65 years from now, it'll be treated to this kind of nostalgic praise. A vintage car like the Beetle is always something special, finds our former race ace. It brings you back to the old-fashioned car driving. No electronic assist, no power steering. The gears can be unsynchronized, so you really have to focus when shifting. He loves it. Many vintage car fans choose not to make a choice. They drive the oldie for thrills and have a new model for dependable everyday driving. Mercedes presents the new CLS Shooting Brake, which recently enjoyed its world premiere in Britain. The sporty coupe seats 5 people and has a sizable cargo capacity under its large trunk. For drivers who want some extra zap, AMG has conjured up the CLS 63 AMG Shooting Brake with up to 410 kilowatts of power. Dacia is adding a leisure activity vehicle to its range, the Docker. Standard equipment includes front and side airbags for the driver and front passenger, plus ESP. It will go on sale in the spring of 2013 and come with a choice of 1 gasoline engine and 2 diesel units. The Dacia Docker will cost just under 9,000 euros in Germany. A piece of tomorrow today. The Opel Ampera. It's already won its fair share of accolades, including 2012 Car of the Year in Germany. The Ampera went on sale in Europe in February, but has only sold a few thousand units since then, far fewer than Opel had been hoping. But its power concept is impressive. Depending on the driving style, outside temperature, and terrain, its lithium-ion battery can propel it between 40 and 80 kilometers on its own, leaving other electric cars far behind. Our car tester Sasha Knapp immediately feels that he's in a car from the future. A gasoline engine backs up an electric motor. So Opel considers this an electric car, not a hybrid vehicle. He's curious to see how it performs. The 1.4-liter gasoline engine is merely there to extend the car's distance range, supporting the electric motor in case the battery runs down. It cannot power the vehicle directly. All it does is supply extra energy where needed. That electric motor generates 111 kilowatts of power. That gives this baby a top speed of 161 kilometers an hour and a remarkable 370 Newton meters of torque. That kind of power will leave a lot of regular cars standing at the lights. The Ampera is no slowmobile. The one downer is its entry-level price, just under 44,000 euros in Germany. That's just too much for Joe Public. But that money does buy you futuristic design as well. The boomerang-shaped lamps look distinctly otherworldly. Looks-wise, this is a sporty coupe, thanks not least to the arcing roofline, long wheelbase, and short overhangs. The Ampera even sports a little spoiler, although included more for style given the peak speed of 161 kilometers an hour. As for the interior, Opel shows clearly what this car is capable of. To get the car moving, explains Sasha, you pull the stick out of the center console, which has two big displays that might initially be confusing. Too many details, he says. The current flow when you're charging up or energy data. But you can basically view the same things up on the regular display as well. It's a feature that takes some getting used to. And operating all the instruments can also be challenging. The design is very futuristic, says Sasha. There are touch-sensitive buttons merged into the console. Just touch destination and you're taken to the navigation menu. And there are other aspects about the Ampera that are unaccustomed. What Sasha likes about the Opel Ampera also make it dangerous. You can barely hear it as it creeps up from behind. To avoid startling pedestrians and cyclists when using the horn, there is a second, muffled version. The Ampera has 4 driver-selected modes: normal, sport, mountain, and city, which conserves battery power and saves energy for pure electric driving, for example in urban areas or restricted zones. The driver is also provided with feedback on his current driving style. Opel is trying to get drivers to drive sensibly, says Sasha. This little ball in the display tells you whether you're driving economically, whether you're generating too much energy while accelerating or too much heat while braking. But however efficiently you drive, at some point it's time to find a plug to charge up the Ampera. Using the internal combustion engine is not an option. The all-important charger cable is stored in the trunk. After 4 hours connected to a standard 230-volt plug, the battery is fully reloaded. Critics calculate that conventional diesel models are more economical, but we say, forget that. This car is bought by the kind of driver who has a lot of cash at their disposal. That said, this is a pioneering example of the automotive future. You could find worse things to spend your money on. The province of Trentino in northern Italy makes the perfect backdrop for a joyride in this classic. The Cisitalia 202 Grand Sport, released in 1947. Hardly anyone remembers Piero Duzio anymore, says test driver Christoph Bauer. But in the 1920s, he was internationally famous, a pro soccer player and manager, race car driver, playboy, and in 1943, he founded Cisitalia. Fiat designer Dante Giacosa is one of the brains behind the first Cisitalia project. The single-seated race car, designed in 1946, runs on a 1.1-liter engine borrowed from the speedy Fiat 1100. Shortly thereafter, the first Cisitalia made for street traffic was built on the same technical foundations, available as a convertible or a coupe. They called it the 202. The technology of the Cisitalia 202 comes straight from Fiat. Gears, wheel suspension, engine, all taken from the Fiat 1100. Of course, the engine was beefed up a bit to 48 kilowatts. But even at the end of the 1940s, this wasn't particularly impressive for a sports car. The aluminum body reduces the car's weight to only 600 kilograms, though the Cisitalia could use a bit more engine displacement. To get the Cisitalia to really move, you should take as much momentum out of the turns as possible. And excellent road holding means this is no problem. The ability to speed through turns was not unique back then. So what really makes the Cisitalia so special? Nowadays, it's really hard to imagine how much of a stir the Cisitalia caused in its presentation. It was 1947, and auto engineering was dominated by pre-World War II ideas. Big engine covers, and with wide fenders, wide running boards, and often external headlights that blew freely through the headwind. And then, this here, completely rounded and seamless. This innovative design paved the way for successive generations of sports cars. The Cisitalia purposefully forgoes unnecessary ornamentation. Knowledge of aerodynamics from car racing define the flowing, functional shape. Our test driver says the master designer Battista Pininfarina proclaimed the classic shape antiquated. The modern automobile needed pure, soft, and essential lines. With this car, he created not just a design icon, but a work of art. The curator of New York's Museum of Modern Art made the Cisitalia the first car in the world to be shown in an art exhibition. Our Cisitalia comes from a museum as well, the Zeithaus in Wolfsburg, where this car holds a place of honor. Finally, the Cisitalia cocktail of high-volume technology and sports car body inspired Ferdinand Porsche in the design of his first sports car, the Porsche 356. The simple elegance of the Cisitalia continues in the interior. 2 instrument clusters, a few levers and buttons. What more do you need? Classic engine tuning doubles the performance of the Fiat 4-cylinder. A big carburetor, sharp camshaft, and a modified exhaust pipe account for the 48 kilowatts of power. Cisitalia was the first car company in the world to use a wind tunnel. Thanks to the outstanding aerodynamics, the maximum speed is 160 kilometers per hour. The 202 Grand Sport was the first Cisitalia to drive on the streets. Previously, the company built only thoroughbred one-seat race cars. But the know-how from the racetracks came in handy for the 202. Fantastic aerodynamics and a stable body frame helped Cisitalia dominate its class at the Mille Miglia, despite its lack of power. Since its premiere in 1927, the Mille Miglia has become the most famous street race in the world. In 1947, the 202 Spyder, driven by racing legend Tazio Nuvolari, nearly upset all expectations, but came in second place. In 1947, Ferry Porsche sold Cisitalia the rights to the Type 360. Rudolf Ruschka, Robert Eberron von Eberhorst, and Carlo Abarth, all exceptionally gifted designers, were commissioned to give the Grand Prix racer its finishing touches. The Cisitalia 360 features all-wheel drive, a mid-engine, and a supercharger. Tazio Nuvolari was again chosen to drive it, but it never made it to the race. Cisitalia was financially unsustainable. Company chief Duzio fled his creditors to Argentina. All that remains is his masterpiece, the 202 Grand Sport. Our tester admits that driving the Cisitalia 202 Grand Sport is not a life-changing experience. It's most impressive when viewed as a sculpture rather than a means of transportation. This car was the blueprint in its time for all the following generations of sports cars. In that sense, the Cisitalia is a landmark in automobile history.
Ist er definitiv ein Meilenstein der Automobilgeschichte.